Today, we're talking about one of the most frustrating and financially important issues dental practices face: PPO fee negotiation. Too many practices feel trapped by insurance contracts, reduced reimbursements, silent write offs, and what often feels like constant pressure from insurance companies to accept less for the same quality of care. But PPO participation does not have to mean giving up control of your revenue. With the right strategy, practices can negotiate better fees, protect profitability, and stop leaving money on the table. Joining us today is Benjamin Tuinei, a nationally recognized expert in PPO fee negotiation and dental insurance strategy. Benjamin has helped practices increase reimbursements, reduce unnecessary write offs, and better understand the insurance games that quality or quietly drain income. The episode is brought to you by Equa Marketing, the digital growth partner behind this podcast and a trusted resource for dental practices looking to break free from PPO dependence. Let's unpack how practices can stop insurance bullying, negotiate smarter, and protect the revenue they've already earned. Now, Ben, a lot of dental practices feel like PPO fees are fixed and there's nothing they can do about them. Why is that mindset costing practices money? And what do owners need to understand about PPO fee negotiation?
Absolutely. Angie, first, thank you for that kind introduction. I really appreciate you. And it's so great to be back on the podcast. Naren and I were running it and hosting it for, I think, 3 years. And we're so glad that there's professionals like you to continue holding that torch, for the rest of us. Um, so with regards to your question, PPO negotiations, when I started our service in 2009, there were quite literally no companies that provided the service. There were individuals that knew how or had experience, but it wasn't a very widely known concept. So two
Mhm.
companies started in 2009. I think the other company that out of Colorado started at the same time. Over the years, what I've learned is that the awareness has certainly increased where most doctors know that you can negotiate fees, but it's still half of the doctors that are still unaware or don't try, right? The
Mm.
mistake is you lose 7 to 13% of revenue by not negotiating your fee schedules. So just take that figure, even on the low end, 7%, and you multiply that by a 25 to a 30-year career. That's a lot of lost opportunity, right? And it's treatment that you're already doing. It's value that you're already delivering. It's just not income that you have the opportunity to earn. And I know, when we talk about medicine, it's not always about the money,
Mhm.
but in today's day and age, it is. It's so hard to sustain a practice financially these days. So you must engage in meaningful negotiating opportunities with insurance companies, not only to keep your lights on, but in my opinion, to help sustain the quality measures that you believe in, right? And
Yeah.
one of the best ways to do that is just to negotiate those fees often and regularly with insurance.
Mhm. Is there any real example of a practice that believed they had no options, but discovered there was room to improve their reimbursements? Can you share a real example if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Gosh, I have hundreds of different examples. But there was a situation where it's funny. We get a lot of calls from doctors that have already interviewed other companies, but they're on the schedule to chat with us. And out of the respect of these doctors not liking missed appointments, they stick to those appointments, right? Because we're
Mhm.
professionals. And it's really funny when I go through their data, they said, hey, I didn't want to skip this call, but I've already been told by two or three other companies that they can't help us. And so I don't want to waste your time. Just wanted to throw that out first. I said, I'm just curious. Can I see what they saw? Like, what did you share with them? Let's just look at it real quick. I'll give you a really fast opinion. And in 2 minutes, they'll share with me just preliminary data. And I'll stop them. I'll say, they missed a lot of things in the evaluation. And it's really funny that these clients, like when I show them exactly where the misses were and what that translates into in terms of lost revenue, I say, and I'll throw a guarantee and say, hey, I know I can make you X amount minimum, and let's just put a guarantee on it and let's see how it goes. a year later we exceed the expectations, right? And so
Yeah.
that's one thing that if you're talking to people in the industry these days, just be aware that there are some companies or individuals that have a certain kind of client that they're looking for. So if they say no to you, that doesn't mean there are no opportunities. Keep going down that path to interview because you just never know. When you come across more of the experienced people in the industry, most of the time you get a much thorough opinion on what those opportunities are. So if you're told no, you can't negotiate fees, question it and keep talking to people, right? Find out from the best of the best professionals because you just never know if you're getting an opinion that is not 100% fully vetted out, right? In terms of what opportunities could be available for you.
That's such great insight, Benjamin. Now, you've mentioned that practices can often earn 10 to 35% more on reimbursements with the right strategy. Where are those opportunities usually hiding, and why do so many practices miss them?
Yes, in the past you would say that those fee increases are hiding in plain sight. But over the last 10 years, these insurance companies have been increasing the level of confusion on the contracting side and the fee schedule side, meaning umbrella network situations, insurance companies leasing each other's networks. That's on the rise in a big way, right? And so, there's no one size fits all when it comes to an insurance assessment. Every practice has their own unique way of being credentialed with these insurance carriers. But what I do find in terms of where the money is hiding is that it is these days through the umbrella networks, right? Good example, Angie, is last year a lot of doctors that were out of network with MetLife were caught off guard because by May, I think it was May of last year, 2025, all of a sudden practices were getting their well, what they thought were supposed to be out of network with MetLife, but all of a sudden now they're getting paid 30% less because now MetLife pulled them in network through DHA, which also goes by the name Sun Life. So if you're not paying attention to the announcements, this is what I mean by those fee increases are hidden and they're hiding in plain sight, is because you do get those announcements of leasing arrangements that insurance companies engage with each other with.
Hmm.
But very few people understand when they read those letters. They don't understand. It just blows right over their head, right? In the dental practices, that is. And that's because there's so many things that you have to do. There's so much mail, so many responsibilities. It's really easy to overlook an announcement like this. So you must pay attention to your umbrella network relationships because that's where most of the hidden money is, or most of the threat to your income would reside, are the umbrella network relationships and the new ones that are constantly being announced every single month.
Hmm. I'm a little curious. When you review a practice's insurance situation, right? What are the first areas you look at to identify missed revenue?
Yeah. So well, I look at fee schedules first. It's so funny if I know your zip code and I see one code like a periodic exam, and let's say your office fee is $60, but you are getting $25 from that insurance plan, and in my mind I know, oh yeah, we just negotiated with that plan for another client, and I know that we got a 40% increase. So when I look at fee schedules and zip codes, because I've been doing it, I mean, I've reviewed data from over 10,000 practices since I started my career. Gosh, probably even more than that. So
Wow.
yeah, you tend to remember things, right?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to create an AI where I can just plug a chip into my brain and it takes what I see because I can look at a zip code and I can look at one procedure code and I can know that this fee schedule is way low. So that's the first thing that I look at. But from there we dive even deeper, right? We look at coding data. We look at the fee schedule in terms of top codes, alternative benefits, and that way we can report back to the doctor the imbalance of the PPO fee schedule that they have and sort of some projections on what they would make once they got a fee increase that did land in the range of like 20 to 40%, right? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, but the first place to start in terms of what we do is just looking at the fee schedules and understanding and doing an assessment on where that doctor stands compared to what's already been negotiated in that community.
I really do believe a lot of our listeners will get a better understanding of what we were talking about with that answer because it has given it such great insight. So much of practice growth starts with understanding where revenue is being lost before chasing new patients or adding more production. If you're listening and realizing your practice may be too dependent on PPOs or that insurance write-offs are quietly eating into your profitability, be sure to book an MSM session with Equa Marketing through our website, insurancetangle.com/MSM. It's designed to help practices uncover growth opportunities, strengthen patient flow, and build a more profitable path forward. All right, Ben, when you talk about insurance gains, what are some of the most common tactics or contract issues that lead to unnecessary income loss and write-offs for dental practices?
Oh gosh. The worst game that a doctor could play against insurance is to sit on the sidelines, right? And just to accept the status quo. And I've not met a single doctor that does that, or at least has a desire to be bullied by the insurance industry or be bullied on the claims, the denials or even fee schedules, right? I believe that no matter where you're at in your career, whether you're fee for service or whether you're participating with insurance or not, meaning if you're in network or out of network, every dentist treats patients that have insurance, and most doctors treat patients like the 80% of their practice are patients that have insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to insurance in general, there are a lot of opportunities because there are a lot of problems. You get denied claims. You get team members that are not adept on coding and billing practices, right? Where they take shortcuts that lead to more write-offs, right? You do have a culture of increased denied claims these days, where a lot of the old tactics are no longer working. So you have to be more creative in terms of the legal battle of fighting denied claims, right? And really, I've actually had to become a legal expert on the various different laws that protect doctors as it pertains to denied claims, right? And you have to do that. You don't have to be a lawyer, but everybody has access to ChatGPT and all the AI systems that are out there where you have quick access to good data these days if you ask the right questions. um, but there's so many lost opportunities, Angie, in dentistry as it pertains to insurance. In fact, the last thing I'll leave you with is that from just a coding and billing perspective, the average solo practitioner or average dentist in the country, they lose around $150,000 a year in revenue that's not captured as a result of coding and billing errors, including not understanding denial policies or denial tactics, as well as not negotiating your fees. So I don't know about you, but $150,000 for any business would provide a lot of financial relief in terms of investing, give back to the team members or even, enhancing the lifestyle for the practice and whatever it may be. But there's more resources, financial resources coming in to give you significantly more breathing room than where you're sitting today without that $150,000, right? So, so that's it for me, Angie, is that there's a lot of opportunities. I always recommend doing a very thorough audit of your insurance department, fee schedules, coding and billing and all that, because what you're going to find in most practices when you do that audit thoroughly, it's at least $150,000 of loss opportunity
Mm-hmm.
a year, that
What,
is.
yeah, what do you think are like the misconceptions about insurance companies create the biggest financial problems for practices?
Oh, geez, that one is easy. That's a great question. Well, think about it. When you have insurance companies that violate the claims processing laws, engage in delay tactics, right? Well, who
Mm-hmm.
bears the cost to fight those claims?
Yeah.
The practices are accepting assignment of benefit, which means they accept all the risk of dealing with the patient's insurance on behalf of the patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a massive administrative burden because if you're getting a consistency of denied claims, you as a doctor are having to chase down, pay your own people to chase down that reimbursement, right? That you willingly accept the assignment of benefit for. So I know that there's some analytics that have been performed on this. I don't know the exact numbers because I'm not a CPA, but what I do know is that the loss opportunities in terms of insurance management ranges. In some practices, it's 3% of annual revenue. In other practices, it could be as high as 7% of annual revenue, you know. But needless to say, no matter where you're at on that scale, this is where you must be very efficient in handling insurance within the dental practice. Otherwise, you're not just losing that 30 to 40% just by being in network. You're now losing 3 to 7% in terms of babysitting these claims, right? So, but there's a way to do it where you don't have to pay that 3 to 7%, right?
All right. Now, for a practice owner who knows they need better reimbursements but feel overwhelmed by contracts, credentialing, and carrier communication, what are the first steps they should take to protect themselves and negotiate from a stronger position?
Absolutely. Well, most definitely, I recommend doing a very thorough assessment on your insurance department in general. I call it building your insurance profile. We're taking a look at everything. Where are my fees against the percentiles, right? And that's actually the most important part. Well, it's one of the more important parts because, if you're at a lower percentile, which I see all the time, doctors at the 20th percentile in fees, which is where the insurance companies tend to reimburse between the 50th and 20th percentiles, naturally you're not going to get any fee increases. If you're at the 80th percentile, you're going to get the best fee increases because no matter where you're at with fees, insurance companies want you to give a discount if you're going to go in network, right?
Mm.
And so insurance profile wise, we start there. We review our top codes. We review all the fee schedules. We review umbrella network relationships just to see like if MetLife is through Sun Life, like we talked about before, but it can be through Maverist or Zealous for a 20% increase. We want to take a look at all that, right? So the conversation surrounding where to start is very complex. If you're going to do it on your own, you quite literally have to spend at least 5 to 10 hours doing a very, very thorough audit on all things insurance, but with very specific targets on what you're looking for. Fee schedules, coding and billing practices that include undercoding, right? Because if you're going to negotiate an awesome fee schedule, but not bill those codes that you should be billing, you're just losing money, right? The alternative is that you can most certainly reach out to professionals. We do that. We'd be happy to at least build your insurance profile and do like a complimentary assessment to sort of at least get you started on the thought process, or at least the data on what the
Mhm.
possibilities are in terms of revenue increase within your insurance department from fee negotiations down to coding and billing and everything else in between.
So we're at the end of the discussion, but before we go, I'd really, really like to know if a dentist wanted to start improving their insurance strategy this month, what would be the first three actions you recommend?
Absolutely. I would say most certainly start gathering all your fee schedules. And it's mostly because you don't want to, I mean, if you've never done an assessment on your own, you want to help any advisors that you end up reaching out to collect the data that they're going to need to assess your situation properly. So obviously all fee schedules in some type of electronic format to get it ready, right? And that includes your office fees. You do want to sort of, so that's number one. Number two is you want to pull your coding data, right? Your coding data, you could pull mostly just a general utilization data, like a production by procedure code data. That's something that I would want to see as a negotiator. Right? I want to see patterns in coding, because a lot of times when you're negotiating, you want to focus on those top codes. You don't want to focus on procedure codes that you don't do a lot of, right? And so that's why you want that there. I think the third one is that to do an assessment very thoroughly, I would not do I mean, you could try, but I would lean on experts that are out there. And here's why, is because the game is getting more complex. And it's a game that you must play if you're going to be a dentist in the United States, is that insurance is becoming increasingly more difficult. And so utilizing advisors out there, especially ones like us, we do complimentary assessments, we do complimentary building of your insurance profile, just so that we could see exactly where the opportunities are. If anybody on this that's listening to this webinar wants to take advantage of that, just visit our website, go to the contact page and request a complimentary assessment. Our website is veritasdentalresources.com.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. You've shared some great insights, and I really, really appreciate you for sharing your expertise with us today. Now, PPO fee negotiation is not just an insurance issue, it is a profitability issue, a leadership issue, and a practice sustainability issue. The practices that thrive long term are the ones that stop passively accepting shrinking reimbursements and start taking a more strategic approach to their pair relationships. Better fees, fewer unnecessary write offs, and stronger insurance systems can make a meaningful difference in the health of a practice. Now, Ben, before we wrap up, right? If there is one thing you want every dental practice owner listening today to understand about PPOs, insurance negotiations, and protecting their revenue, what would that be?
Thank you for asking that. Um, what I want to say about that is we are on the verge of a shift in power between the
Mhm.
insurance companies and the dental practices. It's always, well, over the last 30 to 40 years, it's been very much a very adversarial relationship, right? If there's one thing I can leave with doctors today is that there's a lot of advocacy going on. Of course, there's a lot of AI, emergence of AI technologies that are out there that are making it easier for all of us to support and help improve numbers in dentistry. But one thing that I will say about the insurance industry in general, it is going to get harder. The insurance companies are going to continue to throw things at you to throw you off your track, right? Confuse you and distract you, right? They're going to continue to do that. But what you're also going to see is a massive amount of advocacy and relief on the industry side, on the clinical side of the industry, right? And so I know personally that there are going to be several announcements over the next, gosh, maybe 6 months about certain insurance initiatives that are popping up in various different states around the country. And they're very effective initiatives that are designed to level the playing field and create a balance between the insurance companies and the clinical community, right? And fortunately, that strategy is one in which the public is going to force that change. Can't speak much about it, but if any doctors are interested in learning more about any of those efforts, just visit our website, contact me. Be happy to have conversations with anybody offline about the exciting future of dentistry as it pertains to advocacy against insurance in a way that's meaningful and in a way that helps doctors reduce the enormous stress that they experience today in dealing with insurance as it stands now. So it's exciting stuff.
Thank you, Ben. That's such an important point because at the end of the day, this conversation is really about helping practice owners take back control. Insurance does not have to be something that quietly dictates the financial future of a practice. Now, if today's conversation resonated with you, visit www.insurancetangle.com/resources and download the episode guide for this session. And if you're ready to reduce PPO dependence and build a stronger, more profitable practice, book an MSM session with Equa Marketing using insurancetangle.com/MSM. Don't just listen to the episode, take action. That's where the real value begins.